Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for this video podcast series on venues, caterers, and also rental companies and bar service. Today I'm with Margaret, and she's joining me. And Margaret, thanks for being on the show. Why don't you tell me about your business and where you guys are
Yeah,
located?
absolutely. Thanks for having me. So, my name is Margaret. I am with Events Catering, and we own two special event facilities out in Roswell, Georgia. So, it's about 35, 40 minutes north of Atlanta. But we have Ivy Hall and we have Roswell Mill Club. And we're actually located at Old Mill Park, which is overlooking Vickery Creek that runs into the Chattahoochee River. So, our space is pretty unique because it actually dates back to about Civil War times.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so during Sherman's March to the Sea, portions of it was burnt down and then rebuilt. And so you can still see the original mill, actual, functioning
Really?
area, closer down to the water area. But then up here where the actual venues are, they definitely have their quirks because, we have 100-plus-year-old floors and electric. You have to have light switches all over the place because they weren't, originally there. So we always when we have to go turn lights on before tours, like, okay, give me like 10 minutes. I've got to go turn on the building because it's not just a simple, let's flip the switch and
Yeah.
have like a row. It's always back, forth, back, forth. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, the company itself has been, it's a husband and wife team that actually own the company. The husband is the main chef, and wife has actually just recently retired, but she was in sales and she did planning as well. But so it's August, I think, was their 36th birthday of the actual LLC of Events Catering, but
Nice.
they've been in the business for 40 plus years themselves.
Wow.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, so primarily catering, but you guys have two venues that you do most of your.
So that's how it started out,
Okay.
was primarily catering. I am actually not even sure. At one point, I want to say they had 9 different venues, and then they also did on-site, off-site catering as well.
Oh,
But now that time has gone on, they've had their kids. They're like, you know what? We've got it pretty nice. Let's go ahead and just stick with our two venues with the catering, and that's it. It works out really well. So we don't
awesome.
actually any offsite catering. Everything that we do is here in house. And that being said, we are the catering company, so we do not have any outside caterers come in either. So
Awesome.
while we're catering, we really are primarily the venue as well, but it kind of just coincides with each other.
Yeah, that makes sense. So get the space and then all the food comes with it, right? Kind of
Correct.
thing.
You are. Makes it easy. You're not, yeah, you don't rent plates, forks, knives. We handle all of that, glassware, everything is here as far as the food and beverage are concerned.
So that's awesome. What kind of food do you guys generally serve?
Um, I mean, we're actually cooking the food, so it's not a set. It has to be, this one kind of
Oh,
chicken and one kind of. So we can. I mean, we do a station style buffet primarily. So one of our stations is called the Southern Station. So that one will have our chicken pecan, which we're famous for, our sweetheart salad or summerberry salad or whatever it may be, and then like our hash browns au gratin or macaroni and cheese, kind of like the southerny idea.
yeah.
And then also have our south of the border station. So that one has, a carne asada kind of thing, and then a Mexican rice, and then a really great chopped salad. So we can kind of like morph to what people are wanting. But our food's great, honestly.
That's cool. How many, what would you say is like the most popular food right now with you guys?
Oh, our tater tot bar. So
Nice.
it's
It sounds
yeah,
delicious.
it is. It's our martini bar. Tater tots, queso, bacon bits, sour cream, chives on a martini glass. Never fails. Grandma's out there doing the wobble with a martini glass full of tater tots. So
Yeah.
we like our martini bar, our soaking bar as well, because it's all the carbs basically. So like your mac and cheese, your mashed potatoes, and all that. We're like, yeah, have some more martini bar.
That's
It's kind
it. That's it. That's cool. How many guests do you guys accommodate in each one of the venues?
So Ivy Hall is our larger of the two. It's actually made up of 2 levels, but on the main level, which is the main reception space, that space we can seat up to 250 with the dance floor. The downstairs we can seat about another 100 or so, so in total 350, and then sky's the limit really, because we can use the outside space as well for seating if we tent the areas. So, I mean, I know in past they've had, 1,000 people here for different events. That was before my time. But, and then our other space, Roswell Milk Club, has a seating capacity of about 200. Comfortably, I like to stay at about 180 or so in there though.
Yeah. What are you guys seeing like your average guest counts? I mean, right now, I
So,
know guest counts are generally going down, but what are you guys seeing?
well, yeah, so there's that. The average consumer, as you know, is, spending more per guest, inviting fewer. We're kind of seeing it all over the place right this second, honestly, because I think these are all of the weddings that people were like, COVID's done. We're going to have our wedding. We're going to finally enjoy whatever. We're going to invite everybody, and not everybody's going to come. Well, no, now everybody is coming because they want to get out.
Yeah.
But it kind of going all sorts of different ways. So, like Ivy Hall, the typical guest count we see is between about 180 to maybe 200, 220. And then Roswell Club, you're about 140 ish is kind of like the average over there right now.
Yeah. And you guys see, maybe you don't know, but for those getting married and thinking about it, I mean, what percentage of the people that they say they invited are not showing up?
So I still, that 80% of what you invite typically walks through the door is still fairly accurate.
Okay.
Again, being in the times, things have gone all over the place.
Yeah.
Really now.
Yeah.
Because that was,
Everybody's like, we're coming, we're getting out
yeah,
of here. Yeah.
yeah. So I would still say that 80% are still actually coming.
Okay. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about the area? Like, do you guys have, places for people to stay? How far away is it for people to travel? That sort of thing.
So we have a great list of hotels that are actually fairly close to us. We work kind of hand in hand with the Visitors Bureau of Roswell as well. Shout out to Ted Basco. He's awesome. So really awesome at, getting our clients actually connected to the hotels. That way they don't have to be the person handling their blocks or anything like that. Ted will really handle that for them. But so, I mean, in the general area, there's at least 10 hotels or so within like a 5-mile radius, I believe. Airbnbs, because Roswell is actually a really cute, quaint city and town. There are tons of Airbnbs all over the place that are just adorable bungalows and, historic cottages kind of thing. It's got a lot of old history into it for sure. Old Southern history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great for history buffs, people that are interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the booking process. Tell me what a couple goes through. What do they do with you guys? What does that look like for them?
Okay, so typically we'll receive their inquiry through, one of like the major websites, either Wedding Wire or The Knot. Those are our top two that we primarily see. Also, I mean, Instagram is huge now too, with just being tagged in anything from other vendors. That's always a big thing. That's how a lot of our couples find us is, oh, I saw my friend got married here, and then this is their photographer that they use. So now I follow their photographer who then tagged another couple who's like, it's the whole trickle down effect.
Yep.
So we see a lot of that come through the actual inquiry. We discuss with them, okay, because there's obviously a difference, like you just said, in how many people are you inviting versus how many are you expecting. You know your guest list better than I do. I do know the statistic. However, you know that you're inviting 30 people as a courtesy. Like grandma, whatever, who's out in Canada is not actually coming, but you have to send her the invite. So we ask that kind of thing. We ask, are we having the ceremony here? Will you have that off site? Kind of get those details from them. And then we really nail down season, date, month, whatever it may be. We book at least about a year out, especially Ivy Hall, because it's larger and we can see people in one space and not be separated. That space will book at least a year out, especially for the fall. We're about a year and a half out. It's beautiful national park. So yeah, it's gone very quickly, but so we go over the dates, we see what's available. Depending on their head count, if they're at that 150, 175 kind of look, they can see both spaces. So they come in for their tour. Tours are typically about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions they may have. If they want to see both venues, that is the nice part about them being on the same property, is that you get to see two spaces that are totally different from each other, as well as being completely separate from each other. They're not, nothing is really is shared between the two at all. They're totally separate venues. Kitchens are totally separate, everything. So yeah, basically they come, we give them the tour. Once the tour is done, we discuss our soft hold that we can do with them, where it's basically a no obligation hold, gives them peace of mind to go see a few more places, get all of their ducks in a row. And then during that time, we'll put together a cost sheet and proposal for them. That way they really see the bottom line number with us that they're talking about. We do not like hidden fees or surprises. We want them to see their taxes, where service fee is, what that service fee is actually used for. We're transparent with them on, the service fee is not paying the staff $2.75 and then plus tip. No, it's paying them a nice, wage for sure. Therefore, like and gratuity are not required or expected at the end of the night. Neither should that ever be. Yes, we're in the hospitality industry, and obviously everybody wants to be, commended for their hard work, but that's not required. And we want them to know that. But we show them what all of the fees are. Here it is at this many people with this bar type, with this menu type, this is the cost that it would be. Nice. And then have 10 days to really, kind of, like I said, go see a few more places and not feel the pressure of booking right then. Mm-hmm. But also knowing that their date's not going to be snagged out from under them immediately should somebody else just come up and say, oh, I kind of like that. So we hold it for them. Let's say time goes on, we don't hear back from them. Okay, we take the name off the date, no harm, no foul. Or they come back and they say, okay, well, I really like it this way, but can we also see it with this menu type? Sure, we can run numbers all day long up until a contract is signed. At the point of signing the contract, their deposit's due. And then that deposit actually secures the date for them. Contracts are signed, and then we begin the planning process.
How much do you guys require for a deposit?
The $3,000 non-refundable deposit.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. And do you guys offer insurance too, like for the venue? I know a lot of venues are starting to offer that now versus like having to go out and get it yourself. You guys offer that?
So we don't have like actual event insurance, but we do have all of the liability and responsibility as far as the food and beverage are concerned.
Okay, gotcha.
We do require that all of our vendors are insured as well. So they need their basic liability insurance. Obviously, a lot of things are going to be covered under our umbrella for sure. But we do require that outside for the vendors themselves. But other than that, like they're not having to have, police officers here if they have a bar because we have the liability on it.
Right. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Earlier you talked about like asking them whether or not they were getting married. The ceremony was there. Versus, what are you guys seeing, like ceremony versus reception? Are you guys seeing most of it happen there, or are you seeing a little bit?
Depends on the time of year for sure. Fall, vast majority. Fall and spring for sure. Vast majority of their ceremonies will be here on site. Our main ceremony spaces are outdoors. Ivy Hall is completely to a degree uncovered. Roswell Mill Club, the really big draw about that space is that it's covered 2 times, so rain is really never an issue out there. So it's kind of a guaranteed. Both spaces have an indoor, option to be able to have your ceremony, but again, fall, spring, vast majority of the ceremonies are held here. Those winter dates, that's where it sort of changes a little bit more, goes more towards like the church, ceremonies. Really the only reason the ceremonies aren't here is typically a religious aspect.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I've seen it go. I see it going more towards having everything at the same place.
For sure, there's definitely a huge benefit. I would say majority of our weddings themselves do have the ceremonies here, but again, we kind of look at things as like season, because season different for us. January, March are sales. It's engagement season after Christmas, New Year, Valentine's. We're rocking and rolling with that. But then as soon as like July, August hit, we slow down a little bit. It's just so hot. So we'll see some more church ceremonies at that point again too. And then as soon as September hits, it is all hands on deck. We are rocking for sure.
It's difficult in August when it's 90 something degrees and the humidity in Georgia is 90%. You just don't want to be outside.
It feels so good. It feels really good. And you're like bound trying to look all nice and professional while your hair is up in a ponytail, because it's really brutal, but
for sure. Let's talk a little bit about Right, right.
Many times I've done that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about leads. And you mentioned earlier, a lot of your leads come from Wedding Wire than not. Let's talk about what's working for you guys and what's not working.
Yeah, so Ivy Hall is it's just one of the more well-known venues in the area, again, because it's so large. So Ivy Hall, being transparent, we spend a little bit more as far as, advertising it, putting it on different
Sure.
platforms for sure, because a lot of times, well, every time, if they inquire through Ivy Hall, they receive a letter that has both venues on it. So they may have not even known about Roswell Mill Club. And then that's the venue that they end up booking because they're like, oh, that's actually, I love, that both venues have a complete view of the water and the park and everything like that. I can still go take pictures on the covered bridge at either space. But they didn't realize that we had two spaces and one may be a better fit for them, whether it be size or just overall look. But yeah, so Ivy Hall, definitely we spend more money on as far as the actual advertising and putting out there kind of thing goes.
Yeah.
We, yeah, definitely spend the money on those listings themselves. Roswell Mill Club, at the moment, I believe we're only really paying for one platform for like the actual paid
Sure.
spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Which I believe is through the Knot. And then Wedding Wire, we've got the free listing for that one. Because again, once they find one, they'll find the other.
Yeah. Well, and you probably get a lot of referrals back for the main one, like
Absolutely.
word of mouth, for
Absolutely
sure.
do. A lot of our clients too are local Roswell born, kind of people where we don't really do anything youth oriented as much anymore. Back in the day, they used to do some proms here and there for some different schools. So we've definitely had, some couples come back where they're like, we had our prom here. We want to,
Well,
and book them or whatever it may be.
yeah,
So yeah, definitely. Or it's a mom came here for a wedding of a girlfriend's daughter or son or whatever.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then they wanted their daughter to look into this space too. That's happened time and time again. I've had even sisters who have been married here before. And yeah, so
Nice.
but word of mouth is huge. It
Yeah.
absolutely is.
What would you say is like the difficult part of it? What's not working for you guys when it comes to lead gen?
Um, so that's a good question. What's not working? Hmm. It's actually a really good one. I would say having to stay consistently turning over your pictures on those platforms
Mm-hmm.
because when you're already it's just another task and another job and another this. So it would be awesome if there was a way to like, kind of here attach it to our Instagram or whatever it may be. That would be fantastic because what's not working is we end up with older pictures and it's not that we're, just it's in the back burner kind of thing.
Yeah.
You just lose time.
Yeah.
um so I think something to like integrate more of what we've got current into that, or even being able to have other vendors be able to tag something to where it does go straight to that one platform would be huge. Just again, to have it more consistently turned over versus everybody seeing the same pictures that are on our website, that are on our Facebook, that are on our, whatever.
Mm.
It would
Yeah.
be good live kind of switch over if possible, because it's hard to consistently go back and edit and change thoughtfully, basically.
Yeah. Oh, well, everything, right? Like you're doing it in one space and now you got to go do it over here and now you got to do it over here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're just copying and pasting at some point too. So yeah, it's just like it's the monotonous same thing, but you need it to look different, but fit this
Yeah.
one. And then yeah, it's a hard keep up for sure.
Do you feel like it's more difficult if you don't because clients are expecting you to be fresh and new and
I do because I mean, wedding trends do change fairly frequently. You also want it to be, again, going back to the season. Okay, a bride who's looking for a February wedding date isn't going to have the same wedding as that September 30th wedding.
yeah.
It's very, very different looking. So while yes, it's absolutely beautiful with the fall or with the leaves and everything, well, now this February bride is like, well, that doesn't look anything like you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
a hard, that's hard.
Yeah. The trees are
So
all bare by then. So
yeah,
yeah.
have everything kind of go all over the board without going all over the board and being cohesive together. But it's so yes and no.
Yeah, gotcha. What about preferred vendors? How do you guys deal with that? And I mean, is it something that you have a list for? Do you charge people for? I mean, what do you guys do for preferred
Yeah.
vendors?
So we don't feel that it's right for us to say you have to spend this amount on flowers, you have to spend this amount on photography. This may not be your style in any way, shape, or form. We do feel that we have the right to require your vendors to sign our vendor agreement form, basically stating that yes, they understand that they are working. This is not, let's hang out, the bar's
Yeah,
open. No, we're all here working to make somebody's night the best that it can ever be. So we do require that they sign our vendor agreement form stating that, giving us their contact details, and then giving us their COI. So like I mentioned before, all vendors, no matter what, must be insured,
yeah,
period.
yeah, gotcha.
Except they don't need to be insured, but everybody else, they need to be insured.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, cool. Makes sense
But
to
no, we
me.
not charge though if you go off of our list at all.
Yeah, but how do you guys choose? Like, I'm sure you have like there's people that you've worked with before and you know
Mm-hmm,
how professional they are. You
mm-hmm.
go, yeah, you know what? I will work with these guys again. And I'm sure there's people that have come and you're like, I don't want those people back. So how,
Those
how,
people.
how do you vet them, right, to get them onto that?
Once they've been here 2 or 3 times, where it's again, it kind of goes back to the whole being tagged. That is huge in this industry. So, say something on our Instagram, the photographer tags all of the different vendors within it, and then a bride goes onto our Instagram and they see that, and then they, it's the whole spider web thing. So, a lot of times it's that way where they've seen something, so then they've come back a couple of times, and then we'll then ask them, would you mind us putting you on your list? We enjoy working with you. Are you, open to that? And I've never been told no. So,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
you know, but so yeah, they'll let us put their names on our list. We may take some people off who haven't been out here in a while, or we just, the last couple of times we haven't been as thrilled with whatever they provided.
Hmm.
But most of the time it's because one or at least two of the different account managers who are the planners have worked with them and really enjoyed their time working with them,
Yeah.
whether
Cool.
florist or the photographer, whatever it may be. But it definitely, we do also tell our couples there's definitely a huge benefit and bonus to using a vendor who's been here before, and you're not their guinea pig, and you're not having to say, well, this is where I want to take my pictures down on this rock down. No, let your photographer be the one to say, hey, this rock down here is where you should really be going.
Yeah.
For a florist, the florist should not be asking you, where else do you need stuff? They should know the venue well enough to be like, okay, we've gotten all of these things covered. This is something where a lot of my couples do this.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you guys? Do you make effort to be on like planners list or things like that?
Um, Not necessarily. We obviously want our vendors to enjoy working with us as well, but because of how we function and how we run, um, we're typically the first stop.
Gotcha.
So yeah, once we're on other people's lists, a lot of times they've may have already hired their like caterer. Well, we can't work with them because
Yeah, right.
so a lot of times we are the very, very first stop, even if they may have a planner, which a lot of our couples don't. They don't really need them with us. We
Yeah,
handle a
most
ton of
everything.
skills.
Yeah,
So we're not really, we do like working with planners for sure. We have a smaller list of planners we really encourage people to ever reach out to should they need the extra assistance.
yeah.
But no, we're typically not like, not in like a rude like way, but we're not like,
I got you totally. Well, I mean, I could just see you guys you have such a nice, beautiful, big space. I can see
mm-hmm.
planners from outside, like, hey, you need a big space for your event. I know this perfect spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we have definitely had that in the past where a planner who has worked out here before has had a couple and they've come out and toured the space. And yes, that has definitely happened for sure. But it's
yeah.
just not things where it's as
It
like
doesn't happen as
a
often.
DJ. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
not as much room for that kind of thing.
I got you. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Excellent. Margaret, thanks. Last question for you. What would you do if you went back 3 to 5 years? What would you tell yourself?
So 5 years ago, I was still in college. I would have told myself that Yes, it seems like saying that you wanted to be a wedding planner since you were 8 years old is impossible, and that's not going to happen right out of college, but it will. Don't be upset with yourself when you're getting closer to graduation and being like, I don't have a full-time job yet. Like, I'm still just a nanny. What am I going to do? It'll
Yeah.
happen. Everything's going to be okay. It's all in time. Things happen. Connections are huge, obviously. They're always
Yeah.
huge. But just stay true to yourself and know that you made the right choice as far as saying, I'm not going to settle and I'm not going to take this job offering people discounts for direct TV at Walmart, which people like advertise as being an event planner on those like online job sites. And that's not what that is.
Yeah.
So definitely would give myself that encouragement of you're doing the right thing, you're in the right field, you're making the right choices, and you're going to be okay.
So I want to go back to, you said when you were 8 years old, you wanted to be an
Mm-hmm.
event planner, right? I mean, that's
Huh?
incredible, right?
Not
That's
even just planner, wedding planner.
wedding
So
planner.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I mean, all through college, oh, what do you want to be? What are you going to do? Well, I'm getting my degree because I need a degree there. And at that point, there wasn't a wedding planning degree. Of course, like the year I graduated, they made an entire course out of that, but that's fine. But
Yeah,
so
right.
yeah, went for communication and majored in that, did it in the 4 years and got the heck out of there. I was not a school lover by any means. I knew what I
Yeah.
wanted. I just needed to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, 8 years old, I remember saying, well, I wanted to be a wedding dress designer, but I couldn't draw. So, and I learned that that was pretty important. So I knew I wanted something wedding wise and then realized, oh, I can be a part of every other detail.
There
So
you go.
that's how I came across that.
That's awesome. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, thanks for being on the show. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks for
And
having me.
you're welcome. And chat with you later.
All righty.